What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today we're going to talk about the latest lazy Disney cash grab. That's right, we're talking about Hocus Pocus 2. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we got the Hocus Pocus 2 sequel. But did we really need this? Let's dive into that, shall we? Before we get into all the juicy details of this review, if you're new here, this is Nerd Squish, where we take everything nerdy and we take everything spooky and we squish it all together. So, if you like horror movies, Halloween, and pop culture, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos from us in the future. Let's do like a little flashback before we get into our sequel. We are back in the magical year of 1993, and Disney releases Hocus Pocus, a movie about 3 witches in Salem that come back years later to, like eat children and like live forever and be beautiful. And it was a massive flop at first. And it really wasn't until like reruns every Halloween on Disney Channel that this movie kind of took off with my generation, and we loved it. I loved this movie as a child. I mean, it's a spooky Halloween classic. What is not to love? It had everything that a Halloween movie for kids would really want. It had that atmosphere of autumn and fall in the woods in Salem. It had the witches, it had the Halloween costumes, kids going to school and telling Halloween stories, and just like that excitement in the air. But at the same time, it wasn't just a kids movie. It was much deeper than that, and there were a lot of jokes that when I watch it now, I'm like, whoa, that was really just flying right over my head. But kids don't know, right? Perfect kids Halloween movie. Everyone, all ages, can enjoy it. So as I said, the original, my generation, we love it, we eat it up, and over the years it's become like a staple, not only to watch in Halloween, but any store you go to, there's Hocus Pocus merch everywhere. Rumors first started back in 2014 that Disney wanted a sequel. And it seemed like a no-brainer. This movie that started out as a flop has become a cash success. I mean, the amount of Hocus Pocus merch that they are selling is just, the limit doesn't exist, right? But even though this idea came about in 2014, it struggled and it just never came to be. And ultimately, Disney didn't really think there was any money in this. They were like, okay, well, the first one flopped, so this will flop. They really didn't decide to go through with this until they started doing their live-action remakes that we all just love and hold dear to our hearts. And they saw that there was money in nostalgia. And that's how Disney just keeps stabbing us in the heart with this stuff. As a kid that grew up in the Disney Renaissance, it hurts. It hurts. Now in 2018, a novelization of the first movie and of the sequel came to life. And like the sucker that I am, I went out and bought it. And I read it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. When, 27 years later, Disney decided, hey, we're gonna do a Hocus Pocus sequel. After I read that book, I was like, this will be the hottest piece of trash that has ever existed. Ever. The movie has come out and I've watched it. Do I still think that? Yeah. It's complicated. So in our sequel, we see a main group of 3 teenage girls that have been lifelong friends. 2 of them are really still close, and the other one's like, I don't know, she's like popular and like goes off and does her own thing, whatever. And they're into witchcraft and stuff like that. So they're friends with the guy that now owns the Sanderson Witch Cottage house and actually runs a magic shop and tells the tales of the Sanderson Sisters. And through hijinks, the Sanderson Sisters come back to life again to wreak havoc on the town of Salem and eat all the children to regain their beauty and their youth. So let's talk about what worked with this movie, because it's not all bad. So we have our original 3 Sanderson sisters. We have Winifred, Sarah, and Mary, played by Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. Now, these women are fantastic in their roles. they did not skip a beat from playing these characters. I mean, it's like they've been doing this since 1993. They were fantastic. And you could tell they were really having fun with these roles. And the humor of the witches was still there. They incorporated, much like the first one where you have these witches coming back to 1993 and there's all these new things, buses and concrete and all these things that are just blowing their minds. Well, you can guess in 2022, even more has changed. So you have these really funny moments where they're discovering Roombas and the little voice trapped in Alexa. Instead of having the vacuum like Mary had to fly on in the original, they have the Roombas. Who, like, all of that was great. Fantastic. Loved the jokes. Another great thing was seeing Billy again. I love the character of Billy, although I don't know why he randomly has an accent that he did not have in the first movie. Like, am I crazy? Because I don't remember Billy having that accent. Now, obviously, these are all characters from the original, so, like, as long as they were the same, we were gonna love them. The only new character that I really enjoyed was the shop owner, Gilbert. I think he was a fantastic character. I also might have a biased opinion because I love the actor who plays him, Sam Richardson. Everything I've ever seen him in, he's always hilarious and just, he's a great actor. I love this dude. Spoiler alert. Let's just talk about spoilers because spoiler-free reviews are just not for me. Like, I feel like to really delve into a movie and to understand it, we need to talk about the details and the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to hear spoilers, like, leave. Go watch the movie if you really want to, and then come back. After Gilbert tricks the three main character girls, who I can't remember their names because they're not really important. We'll get into that later. But he tricks them into bringing the Sanderson sisters back to life. The Sanderson sisters basically make him go do all their dirty work so they can cast this ultimate spell to become the most powerful, immortal witches ever. And I love the hijinks between Gilbert and Billy Butcherson. I love this. I think it's cute, especially that we get to see more Billy because he's one of the beloved characters. So this works. These characters work. That's pretty much all that worked for this movie. That's about it. Now that we've talked about the things that worked and the things that were good in this sequel, let's get into the bad. Because there's a lot of it. There is a lot of it. So before we get into the hijinks of the Sanderson sisters coming back to modern day, we actually have a flashback to see them when they're kids growing up in the village, and they really haven't changed much. And the kids playing the younger Sanderson sisters, great. And I really think that this scene, this flashback, it has a lot of cool moments that I think we can all appreciate. One thing that I really did love is that the reverend or the mayor, the guy that ran the town, I don't even know what we call him, but when he goes to like yell at the sisters, there's so many little moments that are happening here. You get to see young Billy, which is great. In this flashback, it's Winifred's 16th birthday, and she gets a gift of a spider. Because apparently her sisters hate her. But the spider gets loose when the Reverend goes to like yell at them and like, witches, all that stuff, right? Spider gets loose. It's crawling on this guy. And at one point he screams, 8 legs of sin! And like, same. When I see a spider in my house, same. 8 legs of sin. Why do you exist? And then the sisters are trying to escape the town and they run off into the forbidden forest. And this is where they encounter a witch. Mother Witch for the very first time and find out about witchcraft. And this is a cool character, okay? This woman, first of all, she's beautiful. I don't know who she is. Never seen her before, but she's beautiful. And she was such an interesting character. You hear the old familiar song of, "Come little children," and she's like, I eat kids. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I guess I want to be a witch and eat children too. That's a little weird, but I love this character. We never see this character again. So that was pointless. But right off the bat in this scene was where I knew this movie's not going to be good. Because they made it really heartfelt for these witches. Okay, it's an odd choice, but okay. So as I said, our main three protagonists are three teenage girls that go to high school together: Becca, Izzy, and Cassie. These girls could not be more boring. I have never in my life been so emotionally uninvested in a character. There was just no stakes. There was no stakes here. In the first one, you're following, this little girl, her brother, and the girl with the yabos, and you're like, oh my God, are they gonna escape the clutches of these witches? And you're on the edge of your seat, and maybe it's because I'm not a kid, but I was like, if they die, they die. Kind of a situation. Like, I didn't care. Through the shop owner, they're the ones that kind of bring the witches back to life. And immediately, the witches come back, and there's just a musical number. And, I'm watching this, and, it was very cringy, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to watch this. I kept, looking around, oh, God, has anybody seen this? This is embarrassing. And it is kind of cool because it turns into a jump scare of sorts. But there was 2 musical numbers in this movie, and I get it. One of the best scenes from the first movie was the, I put a spell on you. We love it. You don't get these out of these musical numbers at all. They're very forced. They felt very, very forced. Just weird, cringy, embarrassing. Again, you have the witches chasing after these 3 girls, and you're starting to see glimpses that the main girl, Becca, has witchy powers. Now, I kind of like the idea of, these girls that are fighting the witches, one of them's a witch. I mean, we're in Salem, it works, right? But it falls through for so many reasons. Why? Why does she just have powers? What's going on here? Because, the Sanderson sisters, the only reason they got powers is because Mother Witch came down and was like, here's your book. Yeah, you're witches now. You're a coven. I don't know why she's got that accent. So at the final fight, you have this big confrontation. The witches, they've made Gilbert get all these ingredients so they can do this spell. This spell that is, the worst spell that you could do. Don't do it. Even Book is nah, don't do this spell. It's bad. What do? They do the spell. And through that, to have this spell work, it takes what you love most. So for Winifred, that was her sisters. And here's where it completely 100% lost me. And this is what Disney has been doing for years. But the fact that they did it in a movie that is already established, okay, look, I get it. Disney's whole thing now is we don't have villains. We talk about the human conflict. I don't like it because, I have enough human conflict, thank you. I watch movies to not be in real life. I don't want to watch human conflict. I want villains. I want evil, okay? So you have her sisters start to disappear, and she realizes, my sisters, I love my sisters. And you have Winifred, this badass witch, all emotional and crying, upset because she loves her sisters, and what can I do to get my sisters back? And I'm like, no. Again, this is a movie about evil witches who eat children. They eat children. And we're sympathizing with them? We're making them the good guys? No. I love these characters. But they're characters that you love to hate, right? You don't root for them, but you enjoy all their antics and their craziness and their evil. They're not the good guys here. And then even Book, your boy Book, was crying and upset. And was you know what, Winifred, it's been a good run, but I'm gonna go with the good guys. And then when all is resolved, she sends off these new cast of characters, and she's like, oh, it's so lovely to have sisters and a coven. And I'm like, what? The woman. No, they're villains. They're not the good guys. We don't have heartfelt moments with these Disney, what have you done? So I feel like reviewing this, I'm kind of a hot mess. I'm all over the place. But I just feel like that's a reflection of this movie and what I watched. Like, I just don't even understand the decisions that were made. We finally got these characters that we know and love, but like, at what cost? The magic of that original movie, it just wasn't there. There's so many directions that this movie could have gone in that would have made it good. But I don't really understand why we made the decision to not bring back any of the other original characters. Even though the novelization of the sequel was terrible, at least we got our characters back. You do kind of have 3 main kids, and the main character is the daughter of Max and Allison. So we're seeing them, we're hearing about Danny and these legacy characters. Like, why didn't we bring them back? Like, we just have these new characters that are so boring. Like, why? There are a lot of similarities from the sequel novelization to the sequel movie, but to me, I think we should have used those characters in here, because at least they would have been like sort of interesting. I would have had a connection. The magic wasn't just lost because of the characters, but the set designs. I feel like that original, it captures the feeling of Halloween, autumn, and the colors and everything, and the sets were gorgeous. This movie, all the sets just felt so fake, and I get it. It's 2022, we have technology, we CGI everything, but like, there were things on this set that looked fake that I was like, we can't get a real tree. We can't get a real tree. Really? Everything felt fake. Fake and forced. So my overall thoughts on this movie is it's just another one of these Disney movies that's gonna feed off of your nostalgia. It's a lazy cash grab. That's all it is. Is it the worst movie in the whole world? It's okay. If you have kids and you want to watch a spooky Halloween movie, put it on for them. But like, if you come from my generation that grew up loving Hocus Pocus, this is like the watered down version of that. It felt like a commercial. Like, you know when you're watching a commercial and they like have one of your characters from your favorite TV shows and you're like, hey, that's cool. I like that character. That's what this was. But just like a really long, cringy commercial. Watch it once. It's not rewatchable. To me, one and done. I will never put this movie on again. And obviously with all these reviews, everybody has different opinions. And I hope that somebody loved and enjoyed this. And I really do. Let me know. Sound off in the comments. What did you think about this sequel? Did it live up to the original? Was it terrible? Let me know. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and definitely hit that notification bell. That way, when new videos go up on the channel, you'll be notified. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you nerds later. And don't forget to form a calming circle when you watch this movie. You might need it.